For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, lab on me going all the way. For the record, ain't trying to link, no time to waste. For the record, for the record.
Hey, how's it going everybody? Dylan K. Johnson here. Welcome back to another training video. Now, I do want to start by apologizing for not uploading between week 1 and what is now the end of week 4. I ended up having a hard drive issue and lost all the training footage between now and then, so it is what it is. Not going to dwell on it. We're just going to kind of keep moving forward and just keep going with these training videos. So, with that being said, we are going to be starting today with week 4, day 6. It's going to be a dynamic effort upper body day, which means we're going to be focusing on speed work on the bench and overhead press. Now, as you guys may be able to tell, just kind of a side tangent before we start here, I've got a heater under my bar because it is absolutely freezing out. This past week has been like the coldest week in almost 100 years here in North Idaho. And it has definitely been affecting my training. The gym has been staying like around 50 degrees, and that's mainly because I don't have a heater in here. It is fully insulated, luckily. The garage is fully insulated. The garage door, I mean, the walls are fully insulated, everything. I've actually gone through this past week and added in some extra weather stripping and sealing around the garage door to make sure that it's sealed as much as possible, as well as the side door that you can't really see here out of frame. Again, just to ensure that it stays as warm as possible in here during this past week, because it has been dropping down to like single digits at night, and it is, like I said, it's been friggin' cold in here. But we're going to be changing that today. I'm actually supposed to be getting in a 6,000 watt garage heater, which I'll be installing kind of back up in this corner, and I'll be able to tie it into a smart plug through a series of contactors and stuff like that. Basically, I'll be able to have it automatically turn on in the morning about half an hour before I start working out. So hopefully it can bring the garage up to like 60, 65, maybe even 70 degrees. We'll have to see depending on the temperature outside. And that'll just be so much nicer and allow me to really focus on my workouts and not worry about just trying to stay warm in here. So anyway, moving on, I kind of got into a side tangent there. Like I said, today is going to be dynamic effort upper body day, focusing on bench and overhead press for speed work, meaning we're going to start off with 65% of my 1 rep max plus accommodating resistance on bench for 12 sets of 3 reps every minute on the minute. Now with this, like I said, we're adding accommodating resistance so that we're going to be focusing on the acceleration, because as we're accelerating up, that band tension is going to increase, causing it to want to slow down, but we're going to try and force our way through that and keep that acceleration, keep that speed as much as possible. Now, once we finish that, we're going to move into the same type of movement, but we're going to be doing overhead press. Overhead press is definitely one of those ones where it's a lot trickier to incorporate accommodating resistance and keep it manageable for speed work. So we're gonna have to play around with that. I've still been trying to dial that in a little bit. I haven't had a lot of success at keeping the speed and acceleration really fast and consistent over the past couple weeks. So we're just gonna keep playing around with it, see how things go. Then after that, we're gonna start working into some more bodybuilding type of movements. We'll have to see. I might end up even going back over to Forge and working there. Just again, it's going to be more hypertrophy based movements, so I want to do a lot more isolation stuff, things like that, but we'll have to see. I'll kind of play that more as like instinctual training after I finish my compound movements. But yeah, that's going to be today's workout. So without further ado, hopefully you guys enjoy, and let's jump straight into this video. Gotta stay warm. Pre-workout's kicking in. Let's go. Alright, so just finished up the bench portion of today's dynamic effort workout. Now, the weight was definitely feeling a little bit heavier. So as we get further and further into the cycle and further into this first wave, it's getting heavier and heavier. So we're increasing our percentage base by 5% every single week while maintaining the same band tension. And it's just getting harder and harder to push through that lockout as explosively as possible and as quick as possible. So it's definitely getting there. The nice thing is we've only got 2 more weeks until we drop the percentage back down, and then we'll be working back up from our initial 45-ish% range. So this is, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but with the conjugate cycle I'm running right now, it basically goes in waves, and each wave lasts 6 weeks. We work up to a 75% 1 rep max plus accommodating resistance for dynamic work, and then after that we drop it back down to like 35%, no 45%, right? Yeah, 45%. So after the 6 weeks, we'll drop it back down to 45% so that we can again work on focusing on that explosive movement and just keep going from there. So that's gonna be the bench portion. Now it's time to move into, gotta catch my breath. Now it's time to move into overhead. And this one, like I said, this one's been a bit tricky. One, I'm not very strong at overhead press as it is. I think, like I said before, my 1 rep max is maybe 135, but we'll see how I do. Still trying to figure this one out for dynamic effort. It's just, every single time I do it, it almost turns into a max effort. It just gets into grinder after grinder. So I don't know if I need to increase the rest time from every minute on the minute to like every 90 seconds or what, but still kind of playing this one by ear. This is the first time I've done it, like I said before. So just kind of really dialing it in for what I feel personally works best for me. But I'm still rambling. Got to get into the workout. Let's go. Alright, so we just finished up the overhead press portion of this workout. Now, experimented a little bit. You guys may be able to see, I might throw them in the video here, just kind of different setups for basically negative accommodating resistance. So using the bands attached to the top, so basically as they're at the bottom of the movement, they're taking away weight versus as I'm going up, they're basically relaxing and adding more weight onto it from what's loaded on the bar. Basically the exact same, or the opposite of when you're using bands from the bottom of the movement. As you stretch them, they're increasing the resistance versus now they're pre-stretched. So as they relax, you're increasing resistance in the same manner. So with that, as you guys saw, I kind of experimented with different ways of trying to set this up because the rack is not quite tall enough. My bands are a little bit too long to where when I'm at lockout, they basically go slack, which is not ideal. Ideally, I want to keep a little bit of tension on there just so they don't move around or anything. So I've still got a little bit of experimenting to do with how I set this type of movement up, but by far, of all the ways and weights and various things that I've done for this movement, this is kind of what I like the best for speed work because I'm able to really focus on driving through the bottom, using that momentum and locking out with as much weight as possible. So that's kind of what I'm doing right here. Now with this setup, I've actually got 95 pounds loaded on the bar. So my working weight today was supposed to be 65% of my 1 rep max, plus the accommodating resistance. And with that being said, my estimated 1 rep max being 135, that would have put the weight at about 85 pounds. Now, as I've said, this has been a movement where I've been playing around with the percentages and the accommodating resistance and all that because at the same percentages for overhead press as I've been doing for everything else. It's just too much weight. My overhead press is not strong enough. I'm not strong enough to do that kind of percentage based. So what I did instead is I set the accommodating resistance up to essentially, so that I essentially would hit that 65% of my 1 rep max only at lockout. Because I've got 95 pounds on the bar, these guys are taking the resistance and making it minimal at the bottom by stretching this out, yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. But I do want to check and see what the actual tension is at the bottom, or how much weight is being removed, because it definitely is considerable. So let's hook this guy on here, stretch it down just a little bit, looking at right around 25 pounds. So approximately 50 pounds is being removed total between both bands at the bottom of the movement, which means that I'm sitting at about 45 pounds, or essentially just bar weight. And then as I lock out, that accommodating resistance via the bands is working its way up to my 65%. So hopefully that makes sense. But basically, this is how I'm probably going to be setting things up from now on. Still need to play around with how it's set up, because if you guys see this clip here, I'll throw it in right now. I had it set up a different way, and the second I locked out, bands lost tension. One side came off from atop the rack, and it almost dumped me. So definitely you got to be really careful when you're doing this type of movement and when you're doing any kind of work like this. I didn't have the safety set up very high because I wasn't expecting that, so could have gone a lot worse than it did. Luckily this is pretty lightweight, so I was able to keep it there and hold it and didn't hurt myself. But that's just a warning to you guys. Be very cautious when you're setting stuff like this up, because it can be dangerous. Now, that is the end of my dynamic effort movements for today. So now we're gonna move into my assistance work and more hypertrophy work. So this is gonna be more like how I feel, what I'm doing. Essentially, I'm gonna be doing a push-based workout. So I'm gonna be focusing on chest and shoulders. That's gonna be the rest of today's workout. So I'll go through these kind of accessory movements, hypertrophy stuff with you guys now. All right, now the next movement is going to be a JM press using the safety squat bar, or an SSB JM press. With this, you don't need an SSB. It just makes the movement easier, makes it a little bit safer. The closest thing you can do to this if you don't want to do a JM press, or if you don't know how to do a JM press, is something like a skull crusher. But for me, I really like JM presses. They're a new movement that I've been doing, and I extremely enjoy using the SSB to do them. So if you guys have one with removable handles, that's the key. That's one reason I got the Titan Fitness SSB here, is it's similar to the Elite FTS yoke in that the handles are detachable, which allows you to do movements like this. So take those guys, take them off, set them aside, and then we're gonna do some JM presses. With this movement, you want to be really cognizant of how you're coming down, controlling the weight. Don't just let it fall, and where specifically you're coming down to. Keep an eye on where my hand position stops at the bottom. The easiest way to explain this movement is it's a combination of a close grip bench press and a skull crusher. So watch me, and then if you guys have any questions, leave them down below in the comment section. Alright guys, so finish the workout out with dumbbell get-ups superset with a plate halo. Now with the dumbbell get-ups I did 5 reps per side, and then with the plate halos I did 8 reps in each direction. Then after that we moved into a superset between dumbbell lateral raises, focusing on speed and explosiveness while controlling that negative portion and isolating the lateral head of the delt.
before we moved into just a burnout of dumbbell overhead press. Slight angle in so that I could really isolate and target, well, not isolate, but so I could put more emphasis on the front head of my delt. Now with those was 3 sets of 12 to 15 reps on the lateral raises, and then a burnout or just as many reps as possible on the OHP. After that, finish the workout off with sandbag waiter walks. So if you have a sandbag or anything, it doesn't really matter what it is, waiter walks are an excellent movement to just burn everything out. And what they do, or what you're doing with them, is you're basically grabbing a heavy weight, holding it overhead, and you're walking. That's all it is. It's like a waiter. If you got a waiter, they hold a big old dish or something here and they just walk around the, you know what I mean. They're called waiter walks. You can usually they're performed with a yoke. However, I don't have one, obviously. But if you do, you can go super heavy with them, or as heavy as you need to. But I just have a sandbag. I think that's 45 pounds, nothing crazy, and just walk to the mailbox and back. So those are an excellent movement to burn everything upper body out, because every time you're stepping, it's jostling the weight and you have to stabilize it. So with yourself locked out, it's gonna burn your triceps, it's gonna burn your shoulders, forearms, everything. So really like those, really enjoy them, especially if you go super heavy on them. They can tax your CNS like crazy, so just be careful with that. But that was gonna be the workout, 3 sets of that, just mailbox and back, basically as far as I could walk. And that's it for today. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. This has been week 4, day 6, the last day of this 4th week of the Conjugate Cycle training program that I'm currently running. Say that 5 times fast. But I gotta get going now. I got a lot of stuff to do around the house. Lots of stuff to do around the house. I don't know what I'm doing. I gotta get going, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you have, as always, hopefully you've taken something away. Hopefully you've learned something. Don't forget to hit that like button. Definitely helps out. Show your support for the channel. And go ahead and hit that subscribe button to keep track of all the progress that we're doing if you want to follow along with me. Or if you guys want to see some awesome review videos for everything from tech and camera related to photography, videography, to obviously gym stuff. I'm going to be doing a review on almost every single piece of equipment I have in here and everything that I'm going to be getting in shortly. Surprise, hint, hint. Got some really good stuff on order that should be here in the next couple of weeks, and I'll be picking up even more before the end of the year. Thank you, Black Friday, spending all my money. But like I said, that's going to be it for me today, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed. I will see you all in the next one. Bye.